Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I want to apologize to everybody that was anticipating a Wrestle Talk last week. Did not happen, but I think this week I'm kind of happy that I didn't do Wrestle Talk last week, because there's a lot to I've always say there's always a lot to dive into, and there is, because it's the world of professional wrestling, and we all know that, you know, sports entertainment is big. Some may say that it is hot now, as the final boss alluded to leading up to WrestleMania, but it's always been, you know, we as wrestling fans, we've had our low moments, but now it's just seemed like everything has been clicking on all cylinders. And last night was no exception with Money in the Bank. A lot of stories leading into SummerSlam were revealed. Maybe a teaser too. We did get some earth-shattering news of what some people will refer to as the greatest of all time, announcing that this is it for him. We had a cash-in that failed. And the women showed out. Once again, proving why, in my opinion, and it's not just because I'm a WWE lifer, but the women's division in the WWE is on par to being the best in all of sports entertainment. That is including Impact, which does have a good roster, but it's going. So this is Wrestle Talk with yours truly. I am the franchise. This is probably going to be broken down into multiple parts, because this is the Money in the Bank recap. As you guys know, Money in the Bank was Saturday night, but because I did not do one last week, I want to separate the recap from all the other stuff that is going on in wrestling. So you're going to get 2 episodes today. So let's dive right into Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was Saturday night from the 6th, Toronto, Canada. Once again, I feel though as if what they're doing is, when they are going overseas, even though Canada is, I mean, I live in Buffalo, so Canada's not far, but it is a different country. They are doing that meter. You've only seen it, I think, maybe twice, I believe. But another solid show, another solid premium live event. There wasn't a match that I was like, we didn't need that match. No, every match on this card was good. One was greater than the rest, but they were all good. There wasn't a moment where I was like, let me see what else is happening. No, I was hooked onto it every moment by moment. Every match was solid. So you already know how this goes. I have my takes, which will be match of the night, OMG moment, feel good moment, and performer of the night. So I don't want to waste any time because there's a lot to get into. So match of the night goes to the women. That's right. The women's Money in the Bank by far supersede every match on that card. And if we're going to be completely honest, every time there is one of these matches, a Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble, War Games, the women seem to outshine, outperform the men. It seems to always happen. We've seen it at the Royal Rumble. The women's Royal Rumble was better than the men's Royal Rumble. Elimination Chamber, the same. If we go back to War Games, the women's War Games was better than the men's. And now the women's Money in the Bank was better than the men's. Both had crazy spots. Both had moments of like, I was sitting there like, oh, but I was more, oh my God, when it came to the women. Because Io Sky, Lyra showed out this match. I followed her in NXT. It's kind of like, all right, cool. I rock with her. Not one of my favorites, but this match right here made me say, you know what? She's here for the long haul. She's here. I won't say this was her coming out party. Like, I think Melo's coming out party in a losing effort was tonight or was Saturday night. I think that. But Lyra really showed why they have so much invested into her. Okay. I mean, the suplex that she did, the spider suplex that she did on, the spider suplex that she did off the ladder to just the way she performed. I mean, the match itself you had action, you had some comedy because Chelsea Green, and you know, as I said, Chelsea Green was the fan favorite, but that's because, you know, she's from that area. She's from Canada. But she brought that sense of comedy because, you know, she was grabbing a ladder and was afraid of heights. But every time she was making an attempt to go up the ladder, the crowd was going for her. Like, they was excited to see her potentially get the briefcase. The one spot that Io did to Zoe where I literally thought Zoe died. Like, she hit her with some move and it looked like Zoe may have hit her head on a ladder, but Zoe is an incredible seller. She is great with selling moves, especially when it's these type of matches where there is this hardcore or there is this sense of like shock value. Zoe Stark is the one person that if she's in these matches, best believe she's going to sell whatever move she gets done to her. Naomi doing the split on both ladders to a DDT. Just the spots that the women did on here was priceless. I cannot talk about spots without talking about Tiffy time and the swanton she did from the ropes, from the top. And as she did it, she pointed to her watch and said, "It's Tiffy time," and took off. Incredible. The women really showed out. Michael Cole and Corey Graves, I mean, Grant, they weren't standing. They stood up and gave a round of applause because that shows you how much they're like, yo, the women really, truly put out. They showed out. They showed up and showed out. So tip my hat off. Don't have one on me right now, but hats off to the women for match of the night. And as you know, as I was saying, leading to Money in the Bank, that if this woman was in Money in the Bank, she was going to win Money in the Bank. And that is Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton is our new Mrs. Money in the Bank. During her press conference, she said that she was going to bedazzle, give the briefcase a makeover. So she says she's going to make a little pink and, glittery and all this. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to play out. They did ask her what her plans was, how was she planning on cashing in, and she didn't really reveal much. They did talk about her relationship, her friendship now with Nia Jackson, and how does this play itself out. And she was very like, this is what could happen, but let's, you just have to wait and see. So big congratulations to Tiffany Stratton for securing the briefcase. And now we see when Tiffany Stratton is going to cash in. And I'm pretty sure when she cashes in, she will be our next champion, whether it is on Raw or SmackDown, because she did talk about Liv Morgan as well. We also got a tease, potentially, of Tiffany Stratton's next opponent, and that would be the GOAT, Trish Stratus. They teased it a little bit backstage after Tiffany Stratton won the Money in the Bank briefcase. I would not be surprised. In my opinion, I feel like if Charlotte Flair wasn't hurt, I think we would have got Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam. Because I could just see these two really putting on a great match. And I think what we may see is Tiffany Stratton versus Trish at SummerSlam. And then when Tiffany Stratton cashes in and wins the title, that's when I believe the Queen shall return, and we will get the Queen versus Tiffy time. And Charlotte's attempt to put over the next batch of great talent, I see her doing that for Tiffany Stratton. I don't see Charlotte Flair getting another title push. Not quite yet, but we'll have to wait and see. But I am excited that Tiffany Stratton is our new Mrs. Money in the Bank. Now, the OMG moment. Bittersweet. The last time is now. And after this, you can't see me. John Cena announced his retirement Saturday night at Money in the Bank. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest John Cena fan. I respect Cena in the ring. Cena's absence has made me appreciate the work that Cena put in for years. And it was bittersweet. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but he was teasing. He's been talking about retirement for some time. Recent interviews that he's done, he's kind of talked about his window closing, his window getting closer to the end. He spoke about how he feels like, it's coming around, and we're here. But there is some there is some things that he did say during his press conference, because he was the first to be at the press conference. And he spoke about the plan that he has. So he stated that he will be working 30 to 40 events. He plans to work from January to December of 2025. He did say, when he made the announcement at Money in the Bank, he did say that he will be at Raw, maybe the first Raw. More than likely, he will be at the first Raw of the new era on Netflix, because he said, I've never been on a Raw under Netflix, so I'm going to be there. He's going to be at the Royal Rumble. He's going to be at Elimination Chamber. And he stated his last in-ring match will be at WrestleMania. Now, it's kind of weird, because at the press conference, he said he will still be participating in stuff, but his last in-ring match was at Mania. So I'm not quite sure. It's not his retirement match, that's what he said, but his last in-ring match. It doesn't really make sense, but there's a plan. Cena is going to ride out into the sunset. And the question is, who is going to be Cena's last opponent? Now, first person that comes to mind, Randy Orton. Randy Orton is the first person that comes to mind. Then we have a CM Punk. If Adam Copeland was still here, I would have leaned more towards Adam Copeland, because next to Randy Orton and CM Punk, Edge may be his greatest rivalry. And I just felt like maybe we should have that. I wish it did happen. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. He did say after he hangs up the jorts, he will be wearing suits, and he is still going to be a part of the WWE family. Okay. In what capacity? Who knows? We know Cena is, when Cena puts on a suit and Cena goes off to talk about the WWE, he sells the WWE. He is one of the great ambassadors, spokespeople for the WWE. So we may see him in some involvement there. He may do some producing. He may do some backstage training. Who knows? Who really knows what is in line or in store for John Cena after the WWE. But hell of a career, automatic Hall of Famer. He's one of the best. Despite of how I feel, he is truly one of the best. He did something that most people did not expect for him to do. He came into the scene with a lot of pressure. He had to carry the torch after arguably the greatest, or one of, in my generation, in my timeline, the greatest era to some people, the Attitude Era. Going from the Attitude Era to the Ruthless Aggression Era, and having John Cena be the face of that era to usher in going into the PG era. It did. But for him to do it for the time frame that he did it from is something that we probably will never really, to be honest, see. So hell of a career. Tip my hat off to John Cena. I do need to collect a John Cena shirt. Not one of those, not like the shirt he had on Saturday, but one of the old John Cena shirts. And I think I know which one it is. It's from when he returned at the Garden at the Royal Rumble, and he had I want to say it's the Chain Gang shirt. That is my favorite John Cena shirt, and I have to see if they have it available. If they do, I will be getting it. Now, to end it off, we already know best performer. And I will say this. It is not performer. It is performers, plural. Chelsea Green, Zoe Stark, Io Sky, Lyra Valkyrie, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton. The women of the Money in the Bank match were the performers of the night. They, chef's kiss, they did it. They completely stole the show. As I said before, they proved that, hey, this is what we do. We're here. We ain't going nowhere. Very excited, very happy that, and I think this is the first time I've actually had more than one person as the best performer. So it just goes to show you, how you just have to go with all the competitors in that match. So that's where that is from there. We also have to highlight other matches, all the other matches. So we do know that the opening match was, and to be honest, the way I did the predictions on our story, RCW_podcast on Instagram, I think I did have it laid out with the exception of the main event. The main event was switched over. And I'll talk about that. But I had the men's Money in the Bank starting off, and then Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, which was an incredible match. Definitely was surprised that Braun Breaker lost. Now, I'm surprised because I really thought that we were going to get Braun Breaker, and this is just my opinion. I feel though as if Braun Breaker should have won, because I thought maybe, and I said this on the prediction show, or I said this on the prediction story, it's still up there if well, not anymore, but if you happen to see it, I did say that I had an ideal or a feeling that Ricochet would return. Now, there was some vignette that happened at Collision that showed what looked like a guy running through a portal, and it said soon or coming soon or something like that, and everybody's thinking that might be Ricochet. But even if you see it, the person that is running has hair. Like, the silhouette, you could tell it wasn't a bald person. Man had hair. So I'm not going to say, do I still think there's an opportunity or a space where Ricochet could return to the WWE? Yes. I just thought that I thought Braun Breaker would win the Intercontinental title. Braun Breaker would do something, bring out Ricochet maybe that night, or something. And I thought that we would get Braun Breaker, Ricochet, SummerSlam, IC title. Maybe this will be Ricochet's moment, but then you're making Braun Breaker possibly a transitional champion. But kind of curious to see what's going to happen with Braun Breaker. Drew McIntyre, as we know, did win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Then we had the world heavyweight title. Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins, with the stipulation, if Damian Priest wins, Seth Rollins, as long as Priest holds that title, can never compete for that title. But if Priest loses, then Priest is out of the Judgment Day. We did see a little possible tease of what's going to happen. He basically told the Judgment Day he needed to do this on his own. And you seen Finn, and Finn said, whatever you say. As he was leaving, he said, whatever you say, boss. And with the clusterfuck of the main of that match, obviously Drew McIntyre said during the kickoff show, or the show on Friday, he said that when he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, he is cashing in that same night. So you can tell Seth Rollins was in the match, but Seth Rollins seemed to be more focused on knowing, because Drew McIntyre said this, he knew Drew McIntyre was planning on coming, and he showed up, and he did exactly what I read this, but it was a little different. So what I read as a person who threw this idea out there was Drew McIntyre cashes in, makes it a triple threat. CM Punk shows up and causes the match for not only Priest, not only Drew McIntyre, but Damian Priest as well, making Seth Rollins your new world champion, pinning Seth Rollins versus Gunther at SummerSlam. Now, that didn't happen, as we all know. Damian Priest is still our world champion. I said this Saturday night, as the match concluded. Do not give us Seth Rollins versus CM Punk right now. You're cooking something magical with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. You're really cooking with this particular story. Do not insert Seth Rollins. Keep it. Let Seth Rollins sit there and fester in the idea that he screwed me over. I'm pissed, because you've seen it. The same reaction, if not worse, with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. The way Seth Rollins reacted. And Corey Graves, the announcers, I believe, could play a crucial role in these two particular storylines. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Corey Graves. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Wade Barrett. And Wade Barrett was very, very vocal at Clash at the Castle. We've seen that. Then in the post-show, if you happen to still be watching the post-show, Drew McIntyre, which I had a feeling was going to happen. I had a feeling we were going to get some form of interaction between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, or Drew McIntyre and somebody. And sure enough, during the post-show with Jackie and Big E and Wade Barrett, Drew McIntyre appears. And Drew McIntyre is yelling, "I know you're in the building. I want you. Where are you at?" Calling out CM Punk. Referee shows up. They're trying to get Drew away. Drew pushes one off. Adam Pearce comes up. And for whatever reason, he hugs CM Punk. Like he's grabbing CM Punk like from the back. And and Drew throws an elbow and hits Adam Pearce. So now Adam Pearce snaps, like grabs him, pushes him, and now they're going at it. And Wade Barrett inserts himself into this picture. And he's like, Drew, chill. You're going to jeopardize your career. You're going to do this. You're going to get fired. Don't do this. Come with me. Wade Barrett is, and I said this during the Clash at the Castle, and I'm going to say it here. Wade Barrett is really going to be pivotal in this story. For some reason, he is. And he even alluded to it during the during the post show, even though he said, I am not going to talk about this particular thing because the last time I did, I got reprimanded, I got fined. And if I say something again, I'm going to get fired. So I don't want to talk about it. Leave me out of this conversation. So Big E and Jackie were talking, and Wade Barrett just came out and said, this is deeper than what you think. This goes back years. This goes back to when Drew McIntyre first got onto the scene. That is very telling. And hopefully we hear more about that. Because you don't say something like that without revealing some things. So we have that. So we already know at SummerSlam, it's Damian Priest versus Gunther for the world title. Where does Seth Rollins go from here? Where does he fit in SummerSlam? Because we know it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at SummerSlam. You have to have that be that match. Save Seth Rollins versus CM Punk because they deserve their own time. Unless you bring it all together and make it a three-way, but unless there's a way that you could really build this tension, because then Seth Rollins can say, Drew, you got involved in my opportunity. I'm pissed at you because if it wasn't for you, CM Punk would have never got involved and I would have been able to win the world title. Both of y'all are going to catch hell from me. Maybe that's how you tell that story. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe. But we have that, and obviously the following match was the Women's Money in the Bank, and then we had the main event, which I was surprised was the main event because we knew, if you didn't know, the funeral for Roman Reigns' father, Sika, was Saturday. Once they made that announcement and stated that the funeral was Saturday, and there was video that circulated of Roman Reigns speaking at the funeral, you knew there's no way Roman Reigns is showing up in Toronto for Money in the Bank. There's just no way. So I was very surprised that we are ending the show with this. Very surprised. Because there was nothing of a cliffhanger to end the show. Like, you didn't end the show. You ended the show on a good, let me take that back. There was a cliffhanger, but it wasn't the cliffhanger that a lot of people wanted to see. A lot of people wanted to see Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, their whole interaction. But we did get something, and we did get all but confirmed what I have been stating for a while. And I said this could be the possibility. Could be the possibility. I know we wanted to see Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. I feel like that's going to still happen, but they're making us wait. That is something that's marinating. And if you know anything about when you marinate some good food, it's going to take time. You have to let it fester. We're seeing the small Easter eggs, the small little things, the little details that they're showing of Randy Orton looking at the world or looking at that undisputed title from afar. He's side-eyeing it. He's looking at it. He has these looks on his face that indicate, I got my eye on this belt. I have my eye on this belt right here. So we will get Randy versus Cody. And I do see it happening, but I see it happening September, leading into October, because October is Bad Blood. There's a lot of things that feed into that particular premium live event. Bad Blood. You're going to have Priest. You're going to probably have Priest versus Finn at Bad Blood. It probably will happen before, but we're going to get another installment of it at Bad Blood. We are going to get Drew McIntyre, CM Punk at Bad Blood, another installment of that. And we will get Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at Bad Blood. That theme is going to be very telling and very fitting to the matches that we are going to see at that show. We may even see Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan at Bad Blood, because that is Bad Blood. So we end the night with Solo Sikoa pinning the undisputed champion. We all know that when that happened, we knew beyond a reasonable doubt Solo was going to face Cody. And we all know that is going to mean so much. And we will see the return of the tribal chief, the real tribal chief. And I'm gonna get to this. You see, I am donning the OG Bloodline shirt. If you know where this is going. But that's for the next part of the second half of this here episode. So other things that we see that we could potentially see going into SummerSlam, obviously we all know that we have an assumption that LA Knight will be taking on Logan Paul for the United States title at SummerSlam. We know, obviously, Damian Priest is taking on Gunther for the world title. We all know that Nia Jax is going to be challenging Bayley for the women's title. Intercontinental title is going to be kind of tricky. Are we getting Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn again? Or is Chad Gable going to get involved again with the new Alpha Academy? Maybe we do see Chad Gable eventually win this Intercontinental title. And as I said earlier, we have the possibility of Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus. So SummerSlam, the road to SummerSlam. Listen, I know we've been sitting here and it's been kind of like a, the build is not, there's nothing really I believe Triple H said it best. He said it during the documentary for the WrestleMania Behind the Curtain, which I'm going to talk about. He said it's like a GPS system. He's like, I treat wrestling, I treat the creative style like a GPS system. I put in the destination. Sometimes as you travel, you go through alternate routes. You have scenic routes. But it all comes back and we all end up at the same destination. And that's what we have with SummerSlam. I'm glad we didn't get Roman Reigns back here. Apparently, they have advertised that Jimmy Uso is going to be at SmackDown this week. I don't know to what capacity you have Jimmy Uso come back, because it's Jimmy by himself. It's clear as day to see. I don't see Jey Uso getting involved in this storyline. I just don't see it right now. I don't. Would I love to see Jey Uso? Absolutely love to see Jey Uso. But how? How would you insert Jey Uso into this storyline when the bloodline is on SmackDown and there's no reason for them to be on Raw? The titles are not unified. So Tama Tonga and Tungaloa can't compete for the tag team titles, but they're not undisputed. So they're not being defended on both brands. So how can you bring, and this is why I thought if you had Tama Tonga in the Money in the Bank, that's how you can insert this rivalry. We seen Jey Uso on SmackDown this past Friday. There was no interaction between Jey Uso and the bloodline. So you could kind of see that they may or may not be wanting to get Jey Uso involved, because there is other people of the bloodline that is supposedly appearing. We'll just have to wait and see how this particular storyline plays itself out. But that will do it for this part of Wrestle Talk with the Franchise. This was the Money in the Bank briefcase. This was the Money in the Bank recap part of the show. Let me know what you think of the show. What did you think of the paper or the premium live event? What was your match of the night? Your OMG moment? Your OMG match of the night, OMG moment, and performer of the night. Where you see everything leading up to the biggest night of the year in the summer with SummerSlam. Where do you see, what directions do you see everything going with this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure that you also follow us on Instagram, RCW_podcast. You can also follow the Ace as well at RCW_Ace. I am the franchise better known as the podcast Tribal Chief. I'll be right back.